Heyo, it's me. I'm sorry, I've been falling down on the job of producing content. I know you depend on me for entertainment. Like, why you even pay for Crave, I don't know, and I'm right here. But regardless, I'm back. And what I wanted to do today is the type of video I used to be obsessed with in 2014. Like, literally watched hundreds on end. That might be an exaggeration, but I'm a dramatic bitch, so here we are. And that's a booktube video. Books I read this month. Pause for reaction. It's kind of lame, I know, but it's what my soul is telling me to make. It was either this or I was gonna show you what's in my bag. And you know what's in my bag right now? Garbage. So I thought this might be a little better. So we're gonna boop, 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 shift gears and talk about the books I read this month, or the books I listened to this month. I count audiobooks towards my books total read that year. I know a lot of people don't. They're like, oh, I only read 10 books this year, but I listened to 6. I would never make my reading goal if I did not include my audiobooks, so we're gonna count them. I look like a bit of an asshole with my blue light glasses on my head, but I can't wear them because then you see that. So I'm keeping them on my head for support. I know it's kind of lame that I use them, but I've honest to God become dependent on them. They dull the world. That is a sad statement, and it's sad that I like that, but they do make everything duller. And I get overstimulated way too easily to not care about that. I just spilled coffee all over myself, so we're really on brand here. Anyway, books. I physically read 5 books this month, although they were all on my phone. And then I listened to 5 books this month. So there was never physically a book in my hand. I don't love that. I wish there had been, but I can only do what I can do. So I guess we'll start with the books I physically read, and I am not gonna lie to you, it's pretty embarrassing. I was just in a funk in the month of March. It was bleak, and I needed to read something that was just like super light, super non-committal. Like if I had the click books at my disposal, I would have torn through them. So I just moved up a reading grade and chose the Sarah Shepard series. I didn't go with Pretty Little Liars because there's like 14 of those and I just couldn't face the commitment. So I moved to her next most popular series, The Lion Game. I don't know if you remember, that was a TV show as well, but it only ran for like half a season because it was garbage. They were hoping to recreate Pretty Little Liars, like intense weird fan base, but it just didn't happen. And looking back now, I get why. I rewatched the promo for the show when I was reading these books, and oh my god, bleak. If you didn't know, The Lion Game is about twins that were separated at birth, and the one ends up having to take the other one's place because she's been murdered and she's being blackmailed by the murderer. I don't think Sarah Shepard knows how to write a book that isn't about teenage girls being blackmailed, because that's all this is. So I read the first 2 of those at the very end of February. By the way, there are 6 of them. I thought there were 3. Not correct. 6. And they all have super dumb names. I'll include the first 2, even though I did not read them this month. I read them last month. Or now it's April. I read them in February, not in March. So the first one is classically called The Lion Game. Then there's Never Have I Ever, 2 Truths and a Lie, Hide and Seek, Cross My Heart and Hope to Die, and 7 Minutes in Heaven. Kill me, right? I read all of those. All of them. And the first 3 were short, but the last 3 got freaking long. Like 500 iPhone pages, which is a lot. It's a lot. And I read them all. I could almost count them all as one book because literally the same thing happened in every single one. She'd be like, I think I know who killed my sister. And then her sister, who was like a freaking ghost, would be like, oh, I'm having a flashback to my life before I was dead. And then at the end of the book, they'd be like, oh no, it's not the person I thought it was because they have an alibi. Who is it now? And that happened for 6 books. And I'm the dumbass who read them all as an adult. I'm not saying I'm proud of it, but it happened. I physically read only one other book, and it was called The Roommates, True Tales of Friendship, Rivalries, Romance, and Disturbingly Close Quarters. It was just a collection of short stories about people's experiences with roommates. Some of the stories were good, some were funny, others were just downright like offensive and tone deaf, and they were making fun of their roommates who were clearly having mental breakdowns or suffering with addiction or mental illness. And I was like, when was this written? It was published in 2014. We knew better. It was bleak. I think I gave it 2 stars on Goodreads. And I literally said that in my review, being like, some are good and some are just tone deaf and offensive. I don't leave very many reviews, so it tells you something that I felt the need to write that down because it was just so old. All right. So those are the 5 books I physically read, and now moving into the 5 books I listened to. The books I listened to this month were way better than the books I physically read. I had 2 5-star listens this month, both of which were historical fiction. I used to think I hated historical fiction, and now it's all I want to read. I'm obsessed with it. I've done a complete 180 because I used to like to read a lot of rom-coms, and I was like, historical fiction. And now I'm like, give me World War II stories. And if you come near me with a rom-com, I'm like, I don't believe in love, you know? So it's good that for the book club podcast I'm listening to this month, the girl who always picks rom-coms picked a book I already read before, so I don't have to read a new romance when I don't want to. Yay! It's pathetic. So we'll start with the 2 historical fiction books because those are the ones I enjoyed the most. The first one was The Huntress by Kate Quinn. It was amazing. It was 100% the best book I read this month. I loved it so much. As I said, I gave it 5 stars. I don't remember if I gave the Alice Network 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, but I definitely enjoyed The Huntress more. What did I give the Alice Network? Sorry. You're like, I don't fucking care. I give the Alice Network 4 stars. I give The Huntress 5 stars. So, brief synopsis, The Huntress is told in 3 perspectives. Nina, who is a Russian night bomber, Graham, who was a journalist during the war and is now a Nazi hunter, and Jordan, who is a teenager living in post-war Boston. So the book kind of revolves around this infamous huntress, who's a female Nazi, that Graham has never been able to catch. It's so good. I loved it. It kept me on my toes, and when I thought I knew exactly what was going to happen, sometimes I'd be like, oh, bitch, you're wrong. It was amazing. I recommend it 110%, and I cannot wait to read The Rose Code. The other historical fiction I read this month was Daughter of the Reich by Louise Fenn. I don't know if I just said that right. I always want to say Daughter of the Reich, but I think it's Reich. You would think that I just listened to this book, I would know. But, oops. Another 5-star. I would say I liked The Huntress slightly more than this one, but I loved this one. I did listen to it, so I did have a German accent running through my head constantly for 4 days, and I just kind of wanted to speak in a German accent that whole time, and my family hated me. Yay. Anyways, the book is about Hetty, who is a teenage girl living in Germany during the rise of the Nazi Party. So it's when Hitler is just coming into power, and she's raised in the culture of being prideful of being German and keeping Germany pure and blah, blah, blah. But she starts to have this, what do I want to call it? Not crisis of morals. She starts to doubt these beliefs that have been ingrained in her whole life when she reconnects with her brother's childhood friend who is Jewish. And she has this dilemma of trying to see this boy, Walter, as the villainous evil character that the German society is trying to paint Jewish people to be. It was so good. Again, I often didn't see things coming, or I would see something coming, but then it wouldn't play out exactly how I would expect it to. I loved it. It was so good. I just need another historical fiction in my life right now. Although the other 3 books this month aren't nothing like those. And they were all okay. I'm sorry, I thought I was gonna burp. No, it was a hiccup. Okay. So there's 3 other books. The first one I read was, or listened to, sorry. I'm just gonna say read because it's easier. And in my mind, I read it. Was Admission by Julie Buxom. I think I just butchered her last name, but I'm just gonna say it with confidence. Admission by Julie Buxom, which was basically a fictionalized version of Olivia Jade in the college admission scandal. Like, it's about a girl whose mother is an actress who buys her way into college. It's not USC because they can't legally call it, I think they called it SCC, but it's the exact same thing. So in a way, I was like, why am I going to read this? I know exactly what's going to happen. But it was an interesting glance into what they think her perspective would be, and then seeing the perspective of her boyfriend who genuinely worked to get his spot in college, but is also a privileged white person, or her best friend who is a minority who works extraordinarily hard to get into college and is from a disadvantaged financial background. It was good. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it 3.5. It was quick, but after all that, it wasn't that deep. And then I read Girl with No Job, which is the book of Girl with No Job on Instagram. I listened to her podcast with her sister, so I decided to listen to her book because it was available on Libby. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was, again, wasn't that deep. I mean, she had a couple chapters that were definitely a little chewier. Her experience with grief and her experience with cancel culture was definitely a little deeper than her stories from Fat Camp, but I enjoyed it all. So I think I gave it a 4, but it's one of those instances, I think, in my opinion, where I rated it higher because I liked the person more than I liked the book. I sometimes get guilted into rating a book higher if it's like a memoir of it or a true story of someone, and I'm like, oh, it was good, but it wasn't amazing, but I feel so compassionate for this person, so I would give it a 4. If I give a memoir a 5, then it generally means that I really, really liked it. But I do give genuine 4s too. I'm just talking out of my butthole now. And the last book I read was The Cousins by Karen M. McCannis. I haven't read her other books that are really popular. It's like One of Us is Lying and One of Us is Next, I think they're called. I didn't read either of them because I was just not that invested in reading about high school students. I'm just not really looking for that right now. But this one I thought could possibly be interesting. It's about 3 cousins going to this island that her estranged grandmother owns, and their parents have all been disinherited, and it's a big mystery. It was fine. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but it was fine. I enjoyed it. It was a quickish read. I gave it a 3 stars. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. So those are the 10 books that I read in March. Classically, people will do like their April TBR. Like, what am I going to read in April? But I don't really have a TBR because I literally never know what I'm going to read next. But if just based on my currently reading on Goodreads, I could give you an estimation of what I might read. B, you're probably like, I gave you that book. Why are you reading Sarah Shepard and not this? I just needed a break emotionally, okay? Also, I left The Wise Man's Fear at the house, being like, that's the book I'll read when I'm at the house. But it just seems that every time I'm at the house, I'm not reading. So that's an issue. I'll try to correct that. Maybe I'll get a little deeper into that book this month. I have read like 20 pages, which isn't bad. It's not great, but it isn't bad. So books I know that I will probably finish in April are Detransition Baby by Tori Peters. I'm like 60% of the way through it now. It was a March book club pick for that podcast I mentioned earlier. So that episode's already out. So I know I'm going to finish it so I can listen to that. I probably won't finish that this month because I just moved through it really slowly. People Like Her, I will probably finish that this month. It's by Ellery Lloyd. It's so far okay. I think I'm like 25% of the way into it, and people either love it or hate it. So we'll see where I fall on that spectrum. And then the other book I'm fairly certain I'm going to be finishing in April is a reread. And again, be your like, read the book I fucking gave you. I'm sorry, I do plan to. But the one physical book I have right beside me that I will be reading this month, it's Midnight Sun. I've been reading like a chapter before I go to bed every night just because it's so nostalgic for me. Like, I literally read it last summer when it came out, but I'm still like, one more time, let me in, Edward's weird, brooding brain. I just want to be there. So, that was my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you didn't, please tell me that you did because I'm insecure. Bye.